Put one of the stop points here because this is one of the most popular and noisy, I should say, of our working textile machines, a classic Lancashire loom. And although that particular loom was made in about 1880, the mill that it came from, Pennington Mill in Lee, was actually in operation much earlier in the 19th century. So the point that we were making here was that at the time when the mill that this loom came from was in operation in the early days, this was in the period between 1807 and the 1833 Emancipation Act. So that period when, you know, the whole thing about the fact that 1807 was the beginning of the end, not the end. And in that period, even in the British colonies, like for example the Virgin Islands, where some South Sea, so-called South Sea cotton came from, that you know there were still slaves in British colonies growing cotton that came to Britain. So that was just kind of like a link in the historical chain.
This is the machine that actually made the bobbins of the threads that were actually weaved into the cloth. Now, in a typical mill, you'd have dozens of these working. And this is the machine that was making all the noise that we heard over there. So what you've got is you've got metal hitting against metal. That's what's causing the noise. So they had to lubricate these machines. And the way they would lubricate them was that they would have small children crawling underneath them with little oil cans, dripping oil all over the place. And a lot of these children got mangled. And loads of them got mangled. And it was a black guy called Elijah McCoy who invented a thing called the oil cup, which is a little cup that you pour oil in and it let a tiny amount drip into the parts to lubricate that. And Elijah McCoy, his invention actually saved the lives of thousands of children.
And what we also tend to say is that Elijah McCoy was up in Edinburgh, came down and saw the children, and he would have seen the children of colour getting mangled in these machines.
Seriously.
Think about it.
Seriously.
Think about it. But I ain't going to tell you that,
I mean, if you look at that picture of some of those girls, they're young. They're teenagers, those girls. And so, like, the younger ones will be the ones that will be crawling in between the machines, sort of like, and then it comes. But this thing here, this comes forward on that rail there, and then it moves back. So when it comes forward, you're running in, oiling it, and then it's coming back, and you've got to leg it out of there before it gets you. And Elijah McCoy, when he invented the oil cup, he prevented all these. Just amazing history. Really good. But again, imagine working in a mill and there's hundreds of these going at the time. I mean, you're deaf.
It is deafening. I wouldn't like it, which is why, as our demonstrators tell you as you go around, that mill workers devised a special form of kind of combined sign language, you know, lip reading, called memoring, that they basically exaggerated. As I say, combined sign language, but also very exaggerated lip movements so that they could actually communicate above the noise of the machinery.